The Republic Attack Shuttle from 2009 is a fan favorite set and ship among Star Wars fans. And with the Rho-Class Shuttle appearing in every season of the Bad Batch, I see no better time for LEGO to release their own set of it. But they won't be doing that, so I made my own. This is my Rho-Class Shuttle MOC, based on the Republic Attack Shuttle from 2009. Now that original set only came with 3 minifigures: Mace Windu, a clone trooper, and a clone pilot, which were all great at the time, but one of these guys certainly hasn't aged well. So let's make a few upgrades. Swapping out the Clone Wars stylized look for some more modern figures really enhances the look of all of our clones as well as Mace Windu. I also gave 2 of our clone commanders some yellow pauldrons to separate them from what I'm calling the clone captains without the pauldrons. Then I also gave 2 of our regs some macro binoculars so they could fulfill the sniper and specialist role. Finally, for our minifigures, you saw them in the lineup, 2 of our clone troopers aren't wearing their helmets, and there is a reason for that, which we'll get to later when we check out the inside of the ship. And speaking of the ship, let's finally dive in. Now I did call this a Rho-Class Shuttle despite the obvious difference of me not including that top fin. And I didn't make a top fin because I think it looks stupid. I'm just not a huge fan of it. So this is effectively a Rho-Class Shuttle with no top fin and a new Class Shuttle paint job. But now with that small technicality out of the way, let's really dive into this ship, starting with the wings. And we're going to start with the wings because I didn't actually change anything. LEGO nailed it back in 2009 with the design and the function of the wings folding up and down and stopping at certain points so they stay in position. So I really didn't have much to improve on. Something that did need improving was the cockpit. It's been upgraded with a larger profile with thicker armor plating and bigger, more stable cannons. I also tried to fill in as many gaps as I could around the windscreen and between the plates of armor. And this front panel on the cockpit still folds all the way down, just make sure you bring the windscreen up first so you don't get caught on these corners. Inside we've got 2 seats for both of our clone pilots, with a control panel up front for them to fly our ship. Closing that up, we'll move away from our cockpit and into the main body, where on either side we have these larger, heavier cannons. They've seen minimal upgrade from the original set. They are unfortunately not locked in as much as I'd like them to be, so you do need to make sure that you're lining them up properly. Moving more into the main body, we of course have all these cylindrical pieces down the side to make up that rounded edge of the main cab. Then on top we have the original slopes and hinges with some extra wedge plates and tiles for a little bit of design and depth. And there is this small gap in the plates, that way you can open up these side panels and get a little bit of access to your interior space. The purpose of these panels folding up on the original set was for a bombing feature that I've since removed, but it's still cool to retain this opening ability. Now the middle section of the roof also saw a feature get removed because I took out that larger push-fire missile feature. It's very nostalgic and a fun play feature, but I'm not interested in having a Technic bar sticking out of the top of my ship, so I just took it out. The rear of the ship saw a small makeover as well, with some extra tiles and then some upgraded engine units that rest on those hollow studs. Then I also added these flaps to either of the main engines so you could fold them down and focus the thrust, but they don't really cover the engines that much, so it's more just for show. Now lastly, before we head inside, as I've been going around and reviewing this build, I haven't had it on any sort of display stand or anything else. It's actually resting on its very own retractable landing gear. They're all tucked nicely in the bottom side of the ship when you're in flight, but then you can fold them out easily enough when you're ready to land. But the ship is quite back heavy when you've got the roof open, so be wary of that. And something I forgot to mention initially, when you're opening the roof, don't just let it swing open and fly back. It's so heavy that it actually causes the bricks and plates in the back to disconnect a little, and I don't want your ship falling apart on you. And just from that small swing alone, you can already see the plates and bricks separating, so just make sure you're guiding the roof when you're bringing it back. But speaking of getting the roof open, how do we do that? Because it doesn't just fly open whenever you want. It's actually a really simple locking mechanism that LEGO put on the 2009 Republic Attack Shuttle. On either side of the cockpit, you can see that we have these Technic pieces. If we move these outward, it effectively unlocks the roof and allows us to fold it open and give you access to your interior space. Where inside, we have all 13 passengers loaded up, as well as all their equipment that they're going to need when they go out on a mission. We've got 5 seats up in this front section for our high-ranking troopers and VIPs, as well as a weapon rack on both sides containing 4 blasters, with the center seat having a small control terminal to pull up any mission information. The rear section has 6 seats right down the center with some long rifle storage right behind them. Then on either side of this rear interior cabin, the reason for the helmetless clone troopers, we have 2 medical beds along with some back-to-tanks. There's also a small computer at the end of the bed to monitor the patient's vitals, as well as control panels between each of the passengers to unlock their seats and the rifles behind them, or the rifles up front. Then finally, for our interior space, I'm going to go ahead and get all the troopers out so we can get a cleaner look at it and you guys can get a better look at all the details. I'm really impressed with how clean this space looks, especially with the capacity of troopers I was able to fit in. My shuttle alternate build from a few weeks ago could certainly hold a lot more troopers, but it was way messier than this. And speaking of that alternate build, I actually still have that handy, so we're going to quickly bring that in here and compare these two ships together. Well, I've got both these shuttles next to each other, and my word. One of these is certainly larger and bulkier than the other, but one of them is much more put together and well-rounded than the other. If you want to build one of these shuttles for yourself, I have full PDF building instructions as well as a parts list to make for easy ordering of pieces available on my Patreon page right now. Let me know what you think of my shuttle mock down in the comments below, and drop a like if you enjoyed it. You can also subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any more alternate builds, mods, or mocks that I do. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace, fellas.